Welcome to Development Book Club, and today we will conclude with the bare bones of the Buddha's teaching. We'll talk about the 8th step of the Eightfold Path, which is right Samadhi. There's a lot said at the beginning of the first, broken into 2 chapters, in the first chapter, about Samadhi as concentration or more religious ecstasy, like in Hindu traditions, versus Jhana, Jhana. I hope I'm saying that right, which is more meditation or more rational. And when it comes to right concentration, there are 4 jhanas, or ways of being concentrated. So Dr. Byrd has an image here, which is of a hot air balloon ride that I will share with you now. He says, at best, the following analogy is a little silly. I offer it merely as a way to remember the rather confusing description of the process of letting go of each jhana or jhanic factor, he says. And imagine taking a ride in a hot air balloon. It is tethered to the ground by the 5 hindrances. You can think of these as ropes. A meditator sitting on her cushion is also sitting in that hot air balloon. As her mind becomes still, the ability to concentrate becomes increasingly refined. And eventually the mind is able to maintain a steady focus on an object or the object. This is access concentration. As the 4 jhanic factors gain strength, one can feel the balloon tugging against these 5 tethers or ropes, trying to free itself and lift itself up into the sky. Now, the meditator's concentration becomes unwavering. Unquestionably, the brain waves have changed and a new configuration is established. This creates a force so powerful, the balloon may break free of the 5 tethers or ropes, tying it down. Up and away goes the balloon. Literally, many meditators report a sensation of floating or feeling floating. This is the first jhana, but 4 sandbags, and those tethers are sensory desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and doubt. 4 sandbags, additionally, are also working as a ballast at the bottom of the hot air balloon, and they're still attached. And those are applied thought, sustained thought, physical pleasure / stimulating, being excited or energizing, and then Sukha, S-U-K-H-A, which is the opposite of Dukha, from the First Noble Truth, which maybe can be translated as happiness. He says, imagine that as one is floating in that balloon, she decides to soar higher. In order to do that, she must release these sandbags, and this is precisely what one does in order to enter the second jhana. As these sandbags are let go of, it is the attachment to things like bliss or happiness or sukha that is released, not happiness or bliss itself. One further quote that I want to share before we finish. This is from let me say this right, the Mahasatipatthana Sutta. The Buddha says, and what monks is right Samadhi? Here, a monk, detached from sense desires, detached from unwholesome mental states, enters and remains in the first jhana, meditative absorption that is, which is with thinking and pondering, born of detachment, filled with delight and joy. Thinking and pondering. And with the subsiding of thinking and pondering, by gaining inner tranquility and oneness of mind, he enters and remains in the second jhana, which is without thinking and pondering, born of concentration, filled with delight and joy still. And with the fading away of delight, remaining imperpetuable, mindful, and clearly aware, he experiences in himself the joy of which the Noble One says, quote, happy is he who dwells with equanimity and mindfulness. Here he enters the third jhana. And, having given up pleasure and pain even, and with the disappearance of former gladness and sadness, he enters and remains in the fourth jhana, which is beyond pleasure and pain, and purified by equanimity and mindfulness. This is called right Samadhi. That, monks, is called the way of practice leading to the cessation of suffering, from the Buddha himself. Chapter 19 on right Samadhi, part 2. A couple things here. Here, Dr. Byrd, he recounts a story from his adolescence where he felt overwhelmed at a Methodist Revival in Tennessee. And this is compared to Samadhi in a broader sense. And in order to accommodate intense emotional overwhelming experiences. 3 more Pali words that are brought up here. And we're just about done. So dharana is when a meditator can truly concentrate on an object. The breath, let's say, or count 1 to 10, or in 1, out 2, in, out 1, in, out 2, right, up to 10. And then at some point we can stop counting and simply stay with our awareness of the breath. Dhyana, Dhyana, probably saying that wrong. And this is where the mind now stays focused on one object naturally. The mind remains still and calm. And then, of course, last is Samadhi. Can also be an Indian structure similar to like a mausoleum, actually, to commemorate the dead. And the Buddha chose to enter a state of Samadhi at the time of his very death. And chapter 20, conclusion. In wrapping everything up in contemplating religion, Dr. Byrd notes that to the Buddha, the path begins with practice itself, not belief or faith. Additionally, he warns us of thoughts of superiority, and he says, quote, "My personal astonishment at our spiritual poverty only comes home to roost as I face the truth that ignorance begins with me, not with you," unquote. And on the Buddha, he says that he had no use for metaphysical questions about God or first causes, we'll dig at maybe Aristotle there, or evil, or heaven or hell. He had no interest in the questions such as like, do I have a soul? Where do I go after I die? Do I reincarnate? The Buddha's focus was relentless. You are stuck in a hole, and you're asking me what caused you to fall. Let me ask you a question. You are in a hole, yes? You are suffering, yes? Well then, let's find a way to get you out of there. Pure and simple. I teach one thing, suffering and the cessation of suffering. Famous quote from the Buddha, which is actually 2 things, right? And our religion's tendency to offer us a hero or a savior. From Dr. Byrd, he says, the hard message of right understanding is that no one can and no one may save us but ourselves. This stands in contrast to most religions, which posit that our salvation comes from an external power if our faith is strong enough, unquote. And he urges us to, quote, be our own hero on page 215. And that is my best summary of the bare bones of the Buddha's teaching. Thank you for watching.